Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, you can't see them because they're behind the camera, but as I look around my bookcases, if I look at the fiction that I have there, there's a lot of series. I've got a whole bunch of a few authors that big series. Sometimes it was just one book that was very successful. Sometimes it was a trilogy, and then they just kept writing books. And we all know about that, right? Mm, Earl Grey, hot. So anyhow, you know, it's always really cool. Like I enjoyed some of these books. And whether or not I discovered the book right when it first came out, or whether I discovered it years later, I devoured the rest of the series. I couldn't wait to finish one book to get to the next one to really see what he had done with the setting, or she had done with the setting, with the characters, with backstories, with prequels, all this kind of good stuff. Every little nook and cranny of that whole setting and that whole concept get filled up, and that's very neat and very satisfying. However, there are other books that are just as satisfying to me where maybe it's one, two, three books, and then the author just kind of leaves you hanging. They leave all these dangling threads. You have to fill in the rest with your imagination. That is another video about role-playing games in general, but I want to talk about not so much playing the game, but about actual game design and setting materials. Now it's funny, I got two games in my hands here. Both things that would not surprise you if you've been watching my channel. Got something like Leagues of Adventure, and got something like Broken Rooms. Very, very different in terms of how they handle the setting. Something like Triple Ace Games, Leagues of Adventure, and All for One Regime Diabolique. Paul Wade Williams has written. Just want to make sure you guys name right. One of those long names. This guy is chained to his word processor. There's just a ton of supplements available for this stuff, and I'll talk about Triple Ace and supplements in general another time. That's another video. But there's a lot, and so every single one of them is really cool. And you get more and more into that setting, into the system, and it just flushes it out. And every little nook and cranny ends up getting filled out, and that's very satisfying and very cool. But you got another game like this, big book, very recursive in a lot of ways, big font, great for people like me. Broken Rooms, where it is a huge setting in terms of there are 13 Earths. There are parallel realities. There's some really weird situations going on. But as you read the book, there's some parts where they go into great detail. There's other parts where it's really kind of fast and loose. And you have to fill in all the details. They give you little brief histories. They give you some outlines. They talk about the various organizations that are involved in the world, or worlds, as it were. And they traverse the worlds. And there's even a part in the book, this little Game Masters section, where they talk about there's a bunch of questions that you need to answer and that your players may want to know the answers to. They list all these questions. They don't give you the answers. It's up to you to figure out what those are. And that is also very satisfying. That is very cool. Freaks some people out, but I enjoy that. It is a challenge. I watched a video as I was looking for anything on Broken Rooms, and on the internet, anywhere. And it was I wish I could remember who it was, and if I find the video, I'll link it. And those are three people. They're talking about the game. They play the game. They talk about their experience and what they like and didn't like about the game. And one of them mentions, I think all of them kind of said, yeah, it's too bad that they haven't produced any supplemental materials to really flesh out the game world some more and give you more information. Which is normal these days. And to me, I'm like, nah, I think it's kind of cool they didn't. I like the idea that you have to flesh all this out. I talked about a long time ago about one of my I guess Achilles' heels is sometimes a big setting is tough to learn, and I understand it's worth the effort and whatnot. But sometimes I like a thing like something like Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerer's Hyperborea, where they just got this big world. They've got a gazetteer. They give these outlines. You fill it all out. It's funny because the game I used as the other end of the spectrum for that was another game, the other game by Graham McLean Designs, which is Desolation, which has a pretty involved setting. They have a couple of supplemental books out for that. Very different approach taken by the same company in two different games. Both really cool. But I enjoy those times when you have a kind of a basic framework, but then you fill in all the details, and we get to be creative. And depending on who you play with, if you play this game with two different people, the answers to those questions. Why is the number 13 so important? What's up with these organizations? What happens at Convergence? What is really up? Which is the real world? What's really going on? Those answers will be different in the different campaigns, and you never really know what's going on. I find that very compelling. What about you?